Welcome into Sportsmemo's betting podcast for April 30th. It's Tuesday. We got 571, 572, Boston, Milwaukee up. Top of the card in the NBA playoffs, and we're breaking it down with Robbie Veno. Rob, welcome into the podcast. How are you?
I am good today, Drew. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Excited to get after it in the NBA playoffs, and then, guys, we'll talk MLB. We got 4 games on tonight's slate, plus a free play from Robbie Veno, which we'll get into. So full betting card for tonight's action. It's also $2 Tuesday at sportsmemo.com. So check out the top play at sportsmemo.com, which is from Robbie Veno for just $2 today. The aforementioned game, we got the Celtics, Bucks tonight. Looks like the Bucks minus 7.5 across the board, Robbie. 219.5 the total. What are you thinking here, Boston versus Milwaukee?
Yeah, certainly a surprise in Game 1, right, Drew? Not that Boston won the game, but that Boston won that game by 22 points, and in the process held Milwaukee to just 90. That doesn't happen very often against the high potent, up-tempo Milwaukee offense. But the Boston Celtics seemingly have flipped a switch late season and into the playoffs. In fact, there's a couple of ATS numbers that indicate, if you've been riding Boston since they were jockeying for position very end of the season and into the playoffs, doing pretty well. Boston is 5-0 against the number in the playoffs, and if you just back it up to the end of the regular season, they're on an 8-1 point spread roll over the last 9 games. 6 of those wins by 8 or more. I think a subset of that, Drew, for guys who like to bet halftime, second half stuff, Boston's really been great in the second half over the course of those last 9 games. They're also 8-1 against the number in the second half last 9. All 8 of those wins by 6 or more. So you got a Boston team that has been red hot, making good halftime adjustments. Head coach Brad Stevens, of course, known to be a good X's and O's guy. On the other side for Milwaukee, if we just go to ATS numbers, you get a Milwaukee halftime, first half betting, 2-7 against the number in the first half. Generally favored, generally scoring but not covering, because they're 8-3 over the total first half their last 11. So there's some big numbers there for both teams, first half and second half, that maybe we can take advantage of here tonight. Milwaukee obviously 4-1 over the total in the playoffs, so except for the Boston game, they've been pretty good there as well. I think they might bounce back tonight. I mean, if you're one of those back and forth zigzag theory bettors, you're on Milwaukee tonight minus the points. Don't know that the number is of great value, Drew, but certainly they are an exceptional team, and maybe just a little bit, so to speak, no pun intended on their nickname, but maybe a bit of a deer in the headlights first game. I know that they had a lot of built up anticipation for this one, having been knocked out by Boston last year. We'll see if they calm down a little bit. We'll see if the 3-pointers fall. Much like the way Philly tried to take Kawhi Leonard out of the game last night, Boston's game plan was to stop Giannis from getting to the rim. It's time for Mike Budenholzer to make some adjustments. We'll see how it goes.
Robbie, I like your deer in the headlights, man. That was a nice pun.
Yeah, they kind of look like it, they've been great all season, and then in that Game 1, Boston threw something at them that they just couldn't seem to handle. But like I say, we'll see where the adjustments come here tonight, and they certainly have an array of 3-point weapons in their arsenal that if they shoot a little bit better than 13 of 39 tonight, the result could change rather easily.
Good breakdown, Robbie. There on the first game, we got the night slate, the late night action on TNT. Both games on TNT. 10:30 Eastern tip. 5-7-3, 5-7-4. Houston at Golden State. Golden State minus 5.5. 221 being the total, and that is the $2 Tuesday play of the day. 5% NBA blue chip total from Robbie Veno. He's 27-11, 71% since 2014, and 5% plays in the NBA, so up over 70%, multiple years, very selective, but he's got it tonight, and we made it the $2 play at sportsmemo.com, so check out the website, and you can grab it for just $2 with written analysis. He's also got a free play up on the homepage, so a great great day to check out sportsmemo.com for a lot of betting action this night, and anything you took in that you can use going forward in the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, I think especially in the Philadelphia-Toronto series, right, Drew? Philly comes back with a nice victory, 94-89 over the Raptors. As I mentioned earlier, the entire game plan was to try and deter Kawhi Leonard from chewing them up the way he did in Game 1. And, boy, try as they might, Drew, and Kawhi Leonard still had 35 points. I mean, they weren't real successful in stopping him, but it was the rest of the crew that they kept quiet. Joel Embiid, obviously not 100% last night. Jimmy Butler comes through for them. A couple of thoughts here on this particular Game 3. Now, series evened up 1-1 and coming back home. You know, Philadelphia, despite the victory last night, still hasn't performed offensively whatsoever against this Toronto team. Their overall shooting percentage through 2 games is 39.4%, only 31.3 from three-point range. So they've been really defended well by the Toronto Raptors. And you wonder if coming home is going to help that percentage out, or if it's just a matchup thing here where they can't get what they like against Toronto. It was totally different against Brooklyn, where Brooklyn was so small that Philadelphia had their way with them. But against this bigger, more versatile Toronto squad, they just haven't had a lot of success offensively. I think those two things combined, with the fact that Philly hasn't had any offensive success through 2 games, the fact that they have made a decision, a firm coaching decision, that they're built to outscore teams. But last night showed you they're not going to try and outscore Toronto. They're going to try and win this series on defense. Still couldn't defend Kawhi. Boy, if his running mates get going here, Toronto could win this series still rather easily, even though most people, you know, we're obviously creatures of what we saw last. And I think a lot of people now feel that this is a competitive series, but the numbers might indicate that Toronto could still run away here. So very interested tomorrow to see what we can come up with here, investigate a little further. Opening number was Philly minus 1.5, already bet down to pick. Can't say that I disagree with that. We'll see if we can find any advantages here. Total also bet from 216 down to 214. So far, 2 unders in that series.
Robbie, moving on to the MLB, we got a 7:20 Eastern first pitch here. San Diego versus Atlanta. Paddock versus Tehran. 8.5 being the total. Full game minus 106. So a pick'em price here that is, depending on where you're shopping, San Diego a slight road favorite, but pretty much a pick'em price. Robbie, breaking down this game, I like the first 5 under. And the reason being just because Tehran is a big home road split guy. When he is at home, he's pitched a lot better. 11 innings, giving up only 2 earned runs with 13 Ks. On the road, 17 earned runs. And Paddock, as we know, he can mow him down. Just last game, 7 innings, only 1 hit, 0 earned runs with 9 Ks versus Seattle. On the season, 1.67 ERA, one of the best in baseball. So I'm looking towards the first 5 under here. You can catch it at 4.5 plus price. How do you view the Padres and Braves tonight?
Yeah, really wouldn't disagree, Drew, because what you're going to get out of Paddock, as good as he's been, is probably 5 innings. And if you get any extra, maybe you get that 5 1/3, 5 2/3. So he's obviously facing one of the top lineups in the major leagues right now in Atlanta. They've got a ton of lefties that they can throw at him. So it's going to be a rough assignment. But still, he's been up to the challenge so far this season. And he hasn't really, and I've watched just about every game he's thrown so far this year because I was intrigued by him to start the season. He really hasn't had too many rough innings. So, like I say, this might be his toughest lineup faced all season long. And in this park, Atlanta's been a real good hitting team. I think they rank 6 overall in OPS at home as a home team. So it's going to be tough, but couldn't disagree with maybe slanting my stance toward the road pitcher here through 5 innings. We'll see what they get late out of the bullpen. Obviously, their bridge to closer has been good. And Kirby Yates as the closer right now, one of the more dominant closers in Major League Baseball. Other side of the coin, like you said, with Tehran, it's been better at home this year than it has been on the road. It hasn't always been the case with Julio Teheran. You go back through past years. I know there were a couple of years there where it was the total opposite. He was better on the road than he was at home, couldn't win at home. So he certainly turned that around. He's got potential. You see in a couple of his starts this year that he's had really good outings. Their bullpen is a complete mess, and I think that would be the major reason why I'd agree with your under 5-inning play, because you definitely don't want to take Atlanta into the late innings with the bullpen situation that they have going on right now. Team almost got – I think there were chants of Kimbrel in the stands on Friday or Saturday night because they gave up the huge lead to Colorado, wound up losing, allowing 5 runs in the 9th inning. And it does make you wonder why Craig Kimbrel is not signed yet. Atlanta, with Vizcaino out for the season, would seemingly be a leading candidate for him. But I can't trust that bullpen, Drew, so maybe 5-inning under the best way to go here.
Yeah, bring him back. I was actually living in Atlanta during those prime years of Craig Kimbrel, man. It was awesome having him come running out of the bullpen. I mean, is his velocity still good? I haven't really tracked where he is or what he's doing. Do you know?
Yeah, no, the stuff isn't the problem right now, Drew. It's the age and the length of contract. 38 years old, and people don't, the agent wants 3-4 years. I think Craig Kimbrel, as recently as last week, came down a little bit in his demand as far as length of contract is concerned, and that may help. But, if you're Atlanta, this is a pretty good team, and they have a real good chance of winning that division and doing some damage in the playoffs, and to have it all go by the wayside because you can't find anybody to throw the 7th, anybody to throw the 8th, and certainly they have nobody proven to throw the 9th. That would be a shame to let an entire season go in April down the drain just because you don't want to go out and sign a closer. So if it were me, I think he's the guy. Still very, very good in the 9th inning, and I think Atlanta should maybe try and make a move to get him.
Yeah, good stuff, Robbie. And guys, remember, it's $2 Tuesday at sportsmemo.com. We got Robbie Veno's 5% NBA blue chip total, top total. He's up over 70%, multi-year record here in the 5% in the NBA, and you can grab it for just $2 at sportsmemo.com. Few games left here, Robbie. We got Tampa Bay, Kansas City here. Blake Snell coming from the left side, commanding a -170 price tag at Kansas City. Total of 8. Mostly across the board, seeing 107.5 out there at Bet Online. But either way, Tampa Bay commanding a heavy price tag here. One of the best teams in baseball. Are you interested in laying a big price tag here with the Rays?
I could have been convinced to go run line at first, Drew, and drag it down a little bit because Blake Snell, I would anticipate a bounce-back performance out of him. He came off the injured list. Last week, his initial start off of the injured list was against these Kansas City Royals, and it didn't go well. Blake Snell, 3 1/3, 5 hits, 3 runs out of the game. They lost that game rather easily. I think Kansas City wound up scoring 10 runs total in that contest. Jacob Junis was the opposing pitcher in that contest, did real well against Tampa Bay lineup. 5 innings, 4 hits, only 1 run, 6 Ks over those 5 innings. So, Snell, obviously those numbers are not indicative of the type of pitcher Blake Snell is. And before he had gone on to the injured list, heck, he had thrown 3 consecutive starts where he went 19 innings and only allowed 1 earned run. So I figure he's going to bounce back here against a Kansas City lineup that, while they play really hard, is, the matchup favors Blake Snell in this game if he's got his right stuff, and I think second start off the IL he will. The problem with playing Tampa Bay here in this situation is, the lineup isn't full of stars to begin with, but they've had a couple of major subtractions to that everyday lineup, which kind of hurt. I know it didn't hurt last night. They came up with 8 runs, but over the course of time, you have to anticipate Tampa Bay's run production to go down. When you're without Austin Meadows and when you're without Joey Wendell, 2 of the best left-handed hitters against a righty tonight, right? And you don't have those 2 guys, 2 of their best left-handed hitters gone. It, to me, would signal that there's going to be a slump in run production for the Tampa Bay Rays over the next 10 days while those 2 guys try and get healthy. They did have a major call-up last night of one of their prize rookies, Nate Lowe, power hitter. Actually, the way he was described last night on the broadcast, an all-around hitter with power, so a 300 type hitter with extra base hit ability that they're really, really excited about. Had a hit last night, but I just don't know that the rookie makes up for the two voids in the lineup. So I then turned toward the under, Drew, and maybe wanted to play under 8. However, again, you run into a bad bullpen with the Kansas City Royals, whose bullpen has been an absolute disaster over the course of the last couple of weeks. So, you worry about late inning runs. Maybe a first 5 here again would be a good way to go. Tampa, KC, under the total first 5. To me, it makes the most sense of any way you could play this game.
Right, we've got 2 get-back games here. 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific. Toronto at L.A. Looks like the Angels, minus 150 price tag at home against the hot Toronto team. Vladimir Guerrero, whatever they had going, the atmosphere was great up there in Toronto over the weekend as they swept the A's, and they look good doing it. It looks like commanding a plus 130 price tag here with a total of 9. I'd look towards Toronto. What are you thinking?
Yeah, well, let's start with the listeners that aren't familiar with the starting pitcher for Los Angeles tonight, Griffin Canning, who is their number 1 pitching prospect in the minor leagues. Going to get the call up here tonight. Former pitcher of UCLA, from UCLA, so it's a Southern California debut. Obviously a little bit of jitters or excitement there, the butterflies that go along with making a start in your home territory. The scouting report on Canning, just so we can let listeners know here, fastball, main pitch, 92, 94 miles per hour, but he's a 4-pitch pitcher, which makes him pretty tough. Slider, curve, changeup to go along with it. We'll see how it plays in the major leagues here tonight, but his minor league numbers, Drew, were really, really good, and he ascended very quickly. He had 25 starts at all 3 levels here, posting overall 3.65 ERA, 125 strikeouts in 113 innings. But I think what he did this season so far in AAA is what forced LA to bring him up. He's only allowed 1 earned run in 16 innings, 17 strikeouts in those 16 innings. So they're excited to have him. His former college coach from UCLA says his demeanor is very calm. He doesn't think he'll be overwhelmed by the situation. The problem, even if he's good, he's on a pitch count here tonight. So I think what I read earlier is that the Angels have him kind of slated for 80 pitches max. So we'll see how far he can get with 80 pitches, or if he even gets to 80 pitches. Who knows if Toronto gets to him early. But that's kind of the report on him. It'll be a good situation to watch here tonight so we can get a better look at Griffin Canning and see how he fares in his major league debut. Also, as you talked about, Vlad Guerrero Jr., going back to Southern California here, stomping grounds for him. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares. I took a look really quick. I was interested Friday night in his initial game in the major leagues, and then overall this weekend, I believe they scored 4 or more runs in all 3 games. So for Toronto offensively, a team that was, pretty much bottom tier Major League Baseball on offense, the addition of Guerrero, while he didn't put up stud numbers, has been effective for them. We'll see how it goes here tonight. Clay Buchholz on the other side. Remember last year he came out of nowhere and dominated for Arizona. Most people thought he was done. So many injuries, but he pitched real well. Velocity certainly is one of the lowest in Major League Baseball. Clay Buchholz lives in the 86-mile-an-hour territory with a fastball and has learned to become more of a pitcher. Numbers haven't been great. Numbers haven't been horrible thus far this season. We'll see how he handles Anaheim. But I'll say this. The Anaheim, or I keep calling them Anaheim, the Los Angeles of Anaheim Angels have one of the biggest splits, Drew, offensively between home and away. If you take a look at their home OPS, they're number 4 in Major League Baseball at 842. You look at them on the road, they're number 30, dead last in road OPS at 596. It equates to a plus 246 percentage difference in OPS at home. So it's certainly the damage for this offense has been done at home. I think they're one of those teams that we can start with nearly a month worth of sample size to already documented and in the books, I think it's a team that we can start to look that way. At home, maybe look toward Angels overs or the Angels in general. On the road, maybe look toward Angels unders and fading Angels on the road, because that discrepancy between home and road OPS is the largest in Major League Baseball right now.
That's a great find there, Robbie. And yeah, the market agreeing with you. 8.5 up to 9. So good stuff there on the Toronto LA Angels, looking towards the over in the late night action. We got one more game here on the MLB slate, Robbie. And guys, remember, it's $2 Tuesday at sportsmemo.com. You can get Robbie Veno, the guy talking right now, the guest on the podcast. Top play, 5% blue chip top total at sportsmemo.com. He's hit over 70% since 2014 with his top rated 5% plays in the NBA. So check that out for just $2 at sportsmemo.com. And when you get it, you get some extra bonuses there for other plays on the board at sportsmemo.com. So check that out. $2 Tuesday, sportsmemo.com. Robbie, we got one game left, but do want to tell the listeners we will be back tomorrow with talking SEC East preview in college football. So excited for that, Robbie.
Oh, man, Drew, I'm telling you what, off of the draft this past weekend and now heading into football season, yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm always excited when the scent of college football starts coming around, and usually about this time is when work begins in earnest on the upcoming season. So I look real forward to, giving an early season preview. We may go through the SEC East again in a couple of months in July. But for tomorrow, I know the audience across the nation can never get enough football, and I know you and I are all in with college football. So it'll be fun to go ahead and give an early look at the SEC East tomorrow.
Yeah, and actually it's something specific to this year is the season win totals have always come out at South Point in Las Vegas, and the sportsbook director there, Chris Andrews, has had some health issues, and he did send out a tweet that they're not going to be at least on time. I'm not sure if they're going to be done really at all, at least in the near future. They usually come out in May, so this year it is in question. And he's on Twitter at Andrew Sports, good friend of sportsmemo.com. So maybe give him a follow, wish him some well wishes with his health. But just keep that in mind for the college football season over-under wins, that there might be some adjustment in the market this off season. But we will be back tomorrow talking SEC East preview, and then probably next week SEC West, then Big Ten, right on down the line. Also, reach out to Robbie Veno on Twitter at Rob Veno Sports, or myself at Drew Martin Betts. Let us know any questions you want answered about college football, MLB, really any sports betting in general, lifestyle questions, whatever you want to ask. Feel free to reach out at Drew Martin Betts or at Rob Veno Sports or at Sports Memo, and we will answer it on the podcast. Robbie, we got one game left here, 977-978, New York Yankees, Arizona Diamondbacks, Sabathia versus Greinke. Two big names, man, towards the, I guess you could say, end of their career, but either way, big names on the mound. Minus 140 price tag, the D-backs laying at home, 8.5 the total.
Yeah, boy, good pitching matchup here, Drew. And for Zach Greinke, a guy who really didn't have it in his opening day performance against the Dodgers. I think in that game he gave up 4 home runs and just didn't look like Zach Greinke. And it kind of carried over into his second start. Didn't look great there either. But since then, he's done enough to compile some overall numbers that are, worth looking at to get a ticket on in any start right now. I mean, 32 2/3 innings over the course of his last 5 starts, and it's a 0.83 whip and 2.2 ERA, 36 strikeouts in those 32 innings. And Zach Greinke, of course, the master of multiple pitches. I mean, you could see that 65-mile-an-hour eephus curveball, or you could see the 91-mile-an-hour fastball. Doesn't necessarily, top out with the type of gas that a lot of hard throwers, flamethrowers across the league feature right now. But certainly when you have that type of disparity, 65 to 91, and the pinpoint location that he has, which is what I think he was missing in the initial start and into the second start. But his location has been great lately. So Greinke, a guy that you would look to play on And CC Sabathia, since returning to the Yanks, has posted solid numbers as well. It's interesting to me, Drew, how the Yankees have patched this thing together with all the offensive injuries that they've had, and they've won 11 of their last 13. Arizona, as hot as they've been, 10-4 over their last 14 games. The Yankees are even hotter with a kind of patchwork lineup. I keep thinking that it's going to end for that lineup at some point. Now, we have additional injuries to compound the problems for the Yankees here tonight. DJ LeMahieu, I don't really know his status. Haven't seen a lineup here tonight, but there's a good likelihood that DJ LeMahieu doesn't play in this game after getting injured on Sunday. Urshela also injured on Sunday, and you're talking about having to resort to third-string players in a couple of positions if, in fact, Giovanni Urshela and DJ LeMahieu can't go here tonight. They don't have serious injuries. They're not on the injured list yet, but the Yankees may be cautionary here and give them a day off. So that part of it makes me want to get on Arizona here with Greinke at home. The Diamondbacks have been tremendous against left-handed pitching this year, ranked number 5 in the majors in OPS. However, the Yankees rank number 3 as a road team in OPS. So you get all these conflicting arguments. I think the one thing that kept me off Arizona here tonight was the fact that Zach Greinke's been pushed up a day. Merrill Kelly was supposed to make this start, but unable to make this start, and because they had to throw him into the bullpen. The bullpen got overworked over the weekend. Merrill Kelly into the bullpen. Zach Greinke on 4 days rest, which is not customary for him the last few years. We'll see how he does on this short rest. Now, the entire bullpen had the day off yesterday, but again, I think that's the one thing that scared me off is Greinke not on his traditional rest here. He's a veteran guy who maybe can make it work. Wouldn't put it past him. You may see a high-scoring game here, Drew. That was probably the last conclusion that I came up with, is that Arizona at home has been posting some higher game totals. Not odds makers posting them, but the results have been higher since the humidor was added last year. We thought the runs were going to go down. I think they did go down last year. They're going up again this year inside that park. Maybe we can find an over. But again, you got a lot of reasons to contradict that argument as well, because if Yankee injuries keep LeMahieu and Urshela out of the lineup, advantage to the opposing pitching. Tough game to call. I think you have to use your best judgment. Maybe wait till you see wait later to see the starting lineups in this game, and off of the lineups, maybe we can base a play.
Good stuff, Robbie. Both NBA and MLB guys. Check out his top play, $2 Tuesday at sportsmemo.com. You get his 5% blue chip top total, over 70%. Limited selections here since 2014, 5% NBA plays. So you can get it for just $2, normally $30 going tonight. Also check out his free play up at sportsmemo.com on the MLB boards. And guys, we'll be back tomorrow breaking down some college football. So stay tuned. We'll talk tomorrow. Best of luck with your bets.